Welcome to 1000 PS, welcome to beautiful Iceland. But I guess more importantly, welcome to the equally beautiful Norton Atlas. Now this is a huge bike for the industry and a huge bike for Norton, because this is Norton's take on adventure bike riding. So this fits in this kind of middleweight sector. So we're talking around 70 horsepower, just under. The base price is just over £8,000, and if you go for the premium model, it's just over 9,000. So it's not in that kind of A2 47 horsepower category. We did a big test on all those bikes at 1000 PS. Hopefully there's a link underneath here somewhere. So I've got a good experience of all those bikes. Back home, I've got a Honda Transalp and I've ridden Suzuki's V-Strom pretty much off-road and on-road and on the launch. So I've got a good understanding of all these type of bikes. But what to me makes the Norton a little bit different is first is the appeal of the brand, the looks and the style. It is an adventure bike, 19-inch front wheels, 17-inch rear, kind of low seat, plenty of ground clearance, plenty of suspension travel, but it's kind of got a sophisticated, mature look to it, like without the fairing fasteners, which we saw on the Manx and the Manx R. We've also got a huge plethora of riding aids, because we've got a 6-axis IMU, so on the premium model we've got hill control, we've got heat grips, we've got slide control, we've got traction control, we've got 4 rider modes, we've got a huge touchscreen dash. There's a lot to test, which is why we've got a full day here in Iceland. We're going to ride it in town in urban mode. We're going to do some dual carriageway and some open roads and play with that cruise control in the touring mode. We're going to hit some kind of back roads and try the sports mode and see how that changes. We've got fully adjustable suspension on the front, so I might tweak that a bit. And then eventually we'll go into Enduro and we'll do some off-road. When you're in Enduro mode, it deactivates the ABS from the rear and deactivates the traction control. So we've got a lot to test. There's a lot of rider aids, there's a lot of tech. It's a really important bike for Norton and it's a really important bike for this sector. So by the end of today, when the sun starts to set, we'll give you a verdict. Actually, well no, the sun doesn't set, does it, here in Iceland, which makes it pretty unique and pretty awesome. Really looking forward to experiencing Iceland, and I'm really looking forward to experiencing the new Norton Atlas. What an awesome day at 1000 PS. I'm really grateful that Norton have kind of gone a bit different and done something a little bit strange. We're here in Iceland and it's been an absolute epic ride. We've had the chance to really put the bike through its paces. We've had the chance to do some off-road, some urban, some town stuff, and then get up into the mountains and just really enjoy Iceland. And yeah, it's been a bit cold at times, but with the right gear and the heated grips, it's been awesome. But let me run you through essentially what the Norton Atlas is. It's a little bit strange because it's not in that 47 horsepower A2 adventure bike. We did a big group test at 1000 PS with all the 47 horsepower A2 bikes, and it sits slightly above that because we're 69 horsepower and 42 foot-pounds of torque. It's less than 600 cc, just 585, so it's just kind of above that category. But then it's kind of not really with Honda's Transalp, and it's not really with Suzuki's V-Strom either, because they've got more capacity, more torque, and are a little bit heavier. So it's kind of like sitting on its own. But the reason that Norton can do that is because, well, they've not had an adventure bike since, what, the 50s or the 60s? So they've got a clean sheet of paper and they can start from the ground up. What they've done is 19-inch front wheel, 17-inch rear wheel, which we kind of expect from an adventure bike. We've got a parallel twin, built in partnership with TVS, with that 69 horsepower and 42 foot-pounds of torque. Quoted weight, 188 kilograms, which is wet with no fuel. The base bike is going to come in at 8250 in the UK, and the Apex model that we've been testing, which is the premium model with all the bells and whistles, is 9450. In terms of suspension, that comes from KYB, fully adjustable on the front with rebound and preload on the rear, 180mm of travel front and back, so it's got all the adventure box ticks. We've got the 19-inch front wheel, we've got 17 back, we've got the Indian kind of Brembo brakes, 2 discs up front, 3 10mm brakes. We've got long travel suspension. We can see what Norton are trying to do. But then they've gone a different way because they're in this kind of middle section on their own, and have gone for this very, very different styling. Most adventure bikes kind of go for this rugged hardcore, where here it's kind of much more sleek. It's much more modern, it's much more, for me, upmarket. The dash is really nice, touchscreen, simple, easy to use. The switch gear is very simple and very straightforward. I've got cruise control, I've got heated grips, I've got hold assist, I've got cornering headlights because this is the premium model. In terms of rider aids, again, it's really premium for this type of bike. We've got Enduro, Rain, Tour, Sport and Urban. Those modes are very easy and very simple to change on the move. They change the braking, they change the traction control, and they change the engine brake strategies. We've got a 6-axis IMU, so all those are lean sensitive. So we've got lean sensitive ABS, lean sensitive traction control. That's how that hill control works. And all that is standard on the Apex model. So there's kind of like rider aids that you would expect on a premium adventure bike way above £10,000. A dash that you would expect on a bike at £13,000 to £15,000, but the engine is below 600cc with 70 horsepower. So again, it's very, very much on its own. We've had a great opportunity to ride it here in Iceland, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. It's great to ride somewhere a little bit different, and it rides really well. It's extremely comfortable. The ergonomics feel about right, both when you're stood upright and when you're sat down. The handling is quite sporty for an adventure bike. I was quite surprised by that. I wouldn't describe it as firm, but it steers really well. You can almost get to peg down levels of lean relatively easy, but on the motorway and on the freeway and on the bumpy roads, I just wanted to open up the suspension a little bit, which I did at lunchtime. So what I mean by that is I just made it a little bit softer and a little bit plusher on the front, just to give me a little bit more travel and a little bit more comfort. But that'll depend on where you ride, how you ride, and your weight and your style, if you're carrying pillion or not pillion. But overall, the engine is really strong. If you kind of did a blind test, you wouldn't expect it to be under 600cc. It feels more than 600cc, and it feels more than the 70 horsepower quoted. It's not got that torque and bottom end drive of, say, the Honda or the Suzuki, but they're much bigger in capacity. If I was going to pick some faults, they're all just kind of little niggles, really. Little niggles that can be easily rectified. I've got a feeling that Norton have kind of rushed this through a little bit, because some of the little niggles are more electrical, little faults, which I'm sure can be rectified really, really quickly. So the fueling and the quick shifter, just not perfect. A few times it would change gear, say from 4th to 5th, and then the quick shifter would cut again, thinking I'd touched the quick shifter when I hadn't touched the quick shifter. The fueling on one or two of the different bikes, I rode 3 or 4 different models today. Sometimes it was hunting a little bit, and the revs that tick over were sometimes 2, sometimes 1500, sometimes 2. And the link braking, whereby if you apply the front brake, it applies the rear brake. That felt a little bit inconsistent. Sometimes I could feel it putting some back brake on, sometimes it released the back, and then sometimes it would put it back on again. It was just not absolutely perfect, which you would expect from a premium brand like Norton. Other little slight niggles for me, the adjustable screen, which is manually adjustable, you need 2 hands to do it. You can take 2 hands off the handlebars to adjust it, and you have got cruise control, but shouldn't that be 1 hand operated? And also, when you're riding off-road, the fact that they've integrated the indicators into the handguards to give it a smooth finish is really, really nice. But when you fall over at a standstill and you damage that handguard, you've also got to replace the indicator as well, which is going to be expensive. Equally, this really beautiful looking bodywork, I think it looks great. But when you fall off again off-road, that looks like it's going to be expensive to replace, and it's quite a lot to replace as well. The little pull cord for underneath the seat, that's quite a little bit awkward to get to. It's not lockable. And the keyless ignition, you have to have a key fob in your pocket. Now, it doesn't recognize that you're near the bike. You have to take the key fob out, press the fob, put the fob back in your pocket. For me, it'd be a little bit better if that was a little bit simpler, where it would just recognize that you're near the bike and you can start it like other keyless ignition bikes. But overall, it's a really impressive bike. It feels very premium, it looks very premium, the rider aids are excellent, the dash is excellent, the ergonomics are excellent, and it feels bigger than a 600cc, or should I say 585. Obviously the big question is when it goes against the competition, and that's quite difficult, because if we put it against Transalp and Suzuki, they've got more power and more torque, but this has got more tech and more rider aids. If it goes against the A2 bikes, it's obviously got more power and more torque than them, and way more sophistication, tech and rider aids. But considering this is Norton's first attempt of an adventure bike for, well, quite some time, they've done a really impressive job. These are pre-production bikes, so I think some of the little fueling and little glitches, they'll be all ironed out when the bike eventually goes on sale. For me, when I was at EICMA, I think this bike was overshadowed by the Manx and the Manx R. I didn't warm to it, I didn't really like the styling, and I don't think I really got it. But now I've ridden it and I've seen it in the flesh, I've really warmed to it. I think it's a really good all-round adventure bike that can do a bit of off-road and a bit of on-road. It's fun, it's lively, it's enjoyable, it's got high level of rider aids, and when you open the garage door and you see that Norton brand and you see that Norton styling, I think that's a really big thumbs up. The little niggles, hopefully they will get ironed out when it actually goes into production, and hopefully at 1000 PS we can do a group test. It'd be also interesting to ride the GT version, which comes with a few more different accessories and the 17-inch front wheel. But from here in Iceland, it's been a great test, a great day, a proper little mini adventure, and I've thoroughly enjoyed riding the new Atlas.